Race quotas, what are we marching against? Specifically, what race quotas are we trying to end here?
Well, look,
because there's a lot. They're bringing in race quotas for water? Well, what's the story there? Wat het julle gedink van die march?
Pansy race quotas, pansy!
John Steenhuisen, opinion? Moonshot going well? Gordon Lewis?
He's a sweetheart, really.
Are you after him? Should in response to race quotas, should we just simply stop watching rugby? I mean, die rugby spelers speel nooit kak.
Dankie aan ons burgemeester en sy span, Jordan Lewis, dat hierdie die beste regeerde stad in die hele land is.
It almost sounds like you're more in favor of Gordon Lewis than Mr. Steenhuisen.
These laws are designed to benefit one group and one group only. And that is the connected cadres in the ANC.
What we are seeing in South Africa is that there's a deliberate construct pretending to address the legacy of apartheid that is abused politically, and it benefits a few elite politicians in the ANC. And it's actually another form of construct that actually excludes ordinary South Africans from empowerment.
When you start with your quotas, you are starting to say that certain people are less than other people.
Yes, right.
What we have experienced is obviously the ANC focusing on race, primarily in terms of their traditional support base, which is black voters.
It's in fact a terrible misnomer to claim that this is broad-based black economic empowerment. It's very, very clear it has the exact opposite effect. It enriches about 10% of people at the expense of the other 90%. This is not inclusive economic growth.
In this documentations and the information and the bill, it also discriminates against people with color, predominantly from the Western Cape, the so-called color people, and people of Indian origin.
That is a typical thing that the apartheid government did. We do not stand for that.
The father of our nation, Nelson Mandela. And he said in 1993, if the ANC does to you what the apartheid government has done to you, you must do to the ANC what the ANC did to the apartheid government. Ons is siek en sak van die ANC en ons stuur die boodskap baie duidelik uit. Rasquota se moer.
What you have seen recently is, frankly, a self-serving set of interests masquerading as ideology that is excluding South Africans, that is in fact something that is making the country more and more divided, poorer and poorer.
We are 30 years into democracy. None of our children is from the old South Africa. We must make sure that all South Africans have got equal opportunities to grow and develop into whatever they want to, and we must nurture that capabilities of theirs to utilize that for the best interest of South Africa. Whether that's black, white or colored or Indian, doesn't matter.
John Steenhuisen, opinion?
He is there for everyone. Sorry, he is there for everyone.
Yeah.
For black, white, green, purple, brown, for everyone. Pink. Sorry. Yeah.
There's not a lot of purple people.
Dis die deel wat is in die howe. Dis die deel wat doen iets daaroor. Ons sit nie soos 'n blaffende hond in die hoekie en chunk en chunk en chunk. Ons doen iets om hierdie rasquotas uit te skop en seker te maak dat almal het gelyke kansse in ons wonderlike land.
Is Afrikaans got better?
Yeah?
No, he was brilliant. He's coming by with his Afrikaans.
He's coming into his own.
Yeah, he's coming to his own, yes.
They've introduced race quotas for water. That's going to kill food security in the country.
How can you have race quotas for water?
How you can do it and how you plan to implement it, that's of course a question that you have to ask to the genius ideologue that finds himself somewhere in the corridors of power in the ruling party. It's clearly impracticable. How do you determine water flow? To be a little bit tongue in the cheek there, how the water flows according to a racial breakdown. The fact of the matter is it will deeply disrupt agriculture, it will deeply disrupt the holistic approach to that you need to an economy. Nobody can flourish in South Africa at the expense of somebody else. We have to empower one another. So you can imagine if you have an existing system of irrigation, for example, with water licenses, and you want to now re-engineer this according to some kind of a racial quota, and it has absolutely no bearing of what's happening practically on the ground. You can imagine what purpose does it serve. It actually destroys job creation. It destroys, incidentally, also anyone that is involved in the agricultural sector. It destroys interdependency. So it's another terrible, terrible attempt at racial virtue signaling ahead of an election.
Gordon Lewis?
Brilliant.
Oh my goodness, he's a sweetheart. He's a sweetheart, really.
Are you after him?
Not really, no.
I think he's got a girlfriend.
No, not in this life. Maybe in the next life.
He speaks to the average person. Someone here said that?
Yes.
So what's some examples of that?
When he came there to Alba Gardens, he spoke with the people, asked them what can he do to improve the community.
Yes. He came in and he wanted to meet the people that stay in that community.
And he went into their houses
Yes,
as well
everything.
and spoke to people.
No, he's a flat on earth guy.
It almost sounds like you're more in favor of Gordon Lewis than Mr. Steenhuisen.
No, both of them. They are for the people, and that is what we need.
And we have a chance, like we rescued and liberated the Western Cape, to do the same at a national level next year. And that's what the Moonshot Pact is all about.
Moonshot going well?
Yes, of course. What I'm seeing is a process where people are engaging with one another in a manner that they haven't engaged with one another before. It's not a final result at this stage yet, but what we have at all levels of society is South Africans increasingly talking to one another, realizing that things can't continue the way that they are continuing. I am very, very confident that the Moonshot Pact is the beginning of a change of political culture.
Shouldn't, in response to race quotas, should we just simply stop watching rugby?
No, most certainly not, because rugby has been proven since '95 as probably one of the most important and well-known opportunities to unify people. I mean, I remember in '95, I was sitting on that pavilion in Johannesburg. When I drove from the stadium to the airport that evening, I've never seen so many black and white people hugging each other, and I've never seen so many taxis hooting and tooting and rejoicing. So rugby has been underutilized, I think, to a certain extent, because it is so popular with all races. One must remember rugby in the Eastern Cape, not only football, but rugby has been a long-standing traditional sport of also the black people.
Oh, wow.
We're not black people. We're not white people. We're not colored people. We're not Indian people. We are South African people. And South Africa, as our constitution says, belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity.
Thomas, where's the finishing line?
Parliament.
Parliament. Do you think we're going to make it?
Well, the March is Parliament. For the DA, it's the union buildings, of course.
And you think you're going to make both?
It's a question of time, but we're aiming for this election, 2024. Somebody that's been part of a party that started out with only 7 seats in Parliament in 1994, that the will, the determination, and the absolute dedication to that objective in the end will pull through, that we do end up in power, that we do change South Africa, that we can be a success story in the world. The DA is absolutely determined that that will happen.
This act is not about empowerment or equality. It's about how the ANC can get more power and control over your life. They've already switched off your lights. They're coming for your water. They're coming for your child's education. And they're coming for every aspect of your life, including your private business that they now want to get in and control and make sure that they can put their own cadres into your business.
Parliament, speaking of Parliament, how long will it take to rebuild it?
It is a disgrace that it first of all burnt down.
Did we find who was responsible for that?
Who's culpable, who's not culpable, that is a legal process that needs to determine that. But the fact of the matter is that a fire could start there in the first place. There was such a lack of contingency plans in place. The fact that it could burn down and catch fire again and burn further, and that there's still no clarity as to whether and when it will be restored, That actually shows a lack of pride. Our big fear, of course, is that it's another public works disaster, another exercise of South Africans 10 years from now still wondering what's happening.
There's probably a lot of people that are going to make a lot of money from the tendering process to rebuild Parliament.
Well,
the irony.
Hypothetically, we all of a sudden have a very honest government from the next year onwards that really dedicate themselves to making this work. But certainly, if things remain the same, that would be a valid concern of any resident in South Africa. Disasters are not an opportunity to make money. In fact, it's the opposite. It's an opportunity to ensure something like that never ever happens again.
Last words?
We're here for change.
We can't take any more of this under the ANC. There's only so much that people can take.
And this march is not just a march. In fact, it's kicking off a process of the ANC where we want to dismantle the last institution of apartheid that still remains, the African National Congress.
We got a president who going buy buffalo for millions of rands. Many of the president's buffalo are worth more than the houses that you live in. Dis is skande. Hoe kan dit wees? Hoe kan dit wees in 'n land waar kinders gaan na die bed honger en ons sit met mense wat geld steel elke dag van die beursies van die mense in ons land. Ons moet hulle uitskop. Ons het 'n nuwe regering nodig. 'n Regering wat gee om vir die mense.
Viva die Viva! Pambili die Pambili! Forward John Steenhuisen, forward!
We for the DA, we for the DA.